We rented the cabin because it was cheap. That should have been our first red flag. There were 5 of us: me, my cousin Ryan, his girlfriend Leah, and 2 friends from college, Mark and Jenna. We were looking for a weekend getaway, something to escape the noise of the city. This cabin was 3 hours out, buried deep in dense pine woods. When we finally pulled up the long, overgrown driveway, the sun was already bleeding out behind the trees, casting long, spooky shadows. The whole place just felt wrong. The forest around us was unnaturally still. You know how you can always hear something: birds, insects, the wind rustling leaves. Here there was nothing, just a heavy, oppressive silence. Ryan pulled out his phone and shook his head. "No signal," he announced. "Figures," we figured. "Hey, no distractions." Perfect. We unpacked our stuff and tried to get a fire going in the stone hearth. The air was getting cold, fast. A couple of hours later, we were playing cards, trying to ignore the unsettling quiet. Leah went to use the bathroom, and when she came back, her face was completely white. "Guys," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you need to see this." We followed her outside with our phone flashlights. Carved into the wooden walls of the cabin, almost hidden by the dark stain of the wood, were these weird symbols. They were all over the place, jagged, angular shapes, repeated over and over again in what looked like a deliberate pattern. Mark tried to laugh it off. "Probably just some local kids messing around," he said, but his voice didn't sound very convincing. None of us felt like playing cards after that. The mood had shifted. An unspoken tension settled over our group, thick and suffocating. We decided to just call it a night, hoping things would feel better in the morning. I woke up suddenly. My phone screen said it was 2:17 a.m. I'd been dreaming, but it was the sound that had woken me, faint whispering, like wind carrying words I couldn't quite make out. It seemed to come from all around the cabin at once. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding in my chest. Then I heard it clearly. My name, Alex. It was a soft, dry whisper that sounded like it was right next to my ear. I froze, too scared to even breathe. Just then, the single bulb on the front porch flickered on, flooding the clearing outside with a sickly yellow light. From my window, I could see the tree line, and that's when I saw them. Standing just at the edge of the woods, partially hidden by the trunks of the pines, were figures. They were impossibly tall and unnaturally thin, their limbs long and spindly like spider legs. They were just standing there, watching the cabin, watching us. My breath hitched. I wanted to scream, but the sound was caught in my throat. I slowly backed away from the window, grabbing Ryan, who was sleeping in the bed next to me. He woke up with a jolt. "What is it?" he hissed. I just pointed, my hand shaking uncontrollably. He, Leah, Mark, and Jenna all scrambled to the window. We stared in collective horror. Then, one of the figures took a slow, deliberate step forward into the light. It tilted its head, and a smile stretched across its face. A smile that was far, far too wide for any human. It was a grotesque, predatory grin filled with too many teeth. That's when Leah finally screamed. A raw, piercing shriek that shattered the silence. At the exact same moment, the porch light exploded, plunging us back into total darkness. The cabin was filled with the sound of our panicked breaths. And then came a knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps on the front door. We all froze, huddling together in the middle of the living room. Silence. Then a voice came from the other side of the door, a familiar voice. It was Ryan's. "Guys, it's me. Let me in." We all turned to stare at Ryan, who was standing right there with us, his face a mask of pure terror. He shook his head frantically. "I'm right here," he mouthed, his eyes wide with fear. The thing outside the door was mimicking him. It was toying with us. We didn't make a sound for the rest of the night. We just sat there, terrified, listening to the whispers that swirled around the cabin, occasionally hearing our own names called out from the darkness. When the first faint light of dawn finally broke through the trees, the forest was empty. The silence had returned, but it felt different now. It felt like we were being watched. Carved into the front door, in fresh, deep gouges, was a single, clear sentence. "Next time, answer." We didn't need another warning. We threw our bags in the car and got out of there, tires screeching on the gravel. We drove for what felt like forever, not saying a word. About 2 miles down the road, all 5 of our phones buzzed at the exact same time. It was one notification, a message from an unknown contact. It just said, "We still know your names. Thank you for watching." If you have your own terrifying story, share it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more.